Okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So, for today's talk, I thought maybe I can revisit this one of these um, topics we've heard so many times to revisit this important aspect of our practice called mindfulness. So personally, I find that topic, that practice is very um, you can revisit it again and again and again, and still sometimes you find it uh, um, there'll be little more surprise again and again if you revisit it, because sati is not something according to my understanding, it's not something you can get your head around at one go. It's also like a process. So it's such a important faculty. The indriya, the term indriya, actually is uh, Lord Buddha says this. There are these five indriyas, these five. How do you translate it? Indriya. So you know the term indriya anyway. So so these governing sort of aspects of your practice. So there's this saddha, then there's virya, and there is this sati and samadhi panya. So there's five indriyas, and at the center, uh, as a third indriya, uh, there is sati. So sati being a very important indriya. My teacher would say, Bhantanyānanda would say, sati stands in between these two, from one side to from the other side, like marshalling, telling or kind of supervising what has to be done. Uh, so, so before I get into the details, I wanted to say something what we've been doing for the past few weeks. Once again, we were on Charika. So this time it was about like 2 weeks of Charika. So it wasn't like we are totally walking, doing like a walking Charika, but myself and uh, members of the Sangha in Podgulgala and our extended family of Sangha, like Bhantanyānanda's disciples, some of ours like brothers to me. So we decided to do some sightseeing, like a little like a pilgrimage in a way. So many times we've been to Anuradhapura area and every now and then maybe Polonnaruwa. But uh, in, um, in southern part of the country, the old name of Ruhuna actually apparently has a lot of had a lot of monasteries, and especially as monastics, we are sort of aware of this thing because we have access as monastics. Sort of we get to know these places, we get the news. There are like a nice monastery down there. Why don't you visit us? Visit there one day or something. So we get to see this place often, and then for sure than lay people. But still, um, um, there are these places that you don't go often unless you sort of ordain in that area. So therefore, there you sort of you live in that area. So then you travel, you sort of you visit these places. But we are from Kego, so we hardly go down south. So our first stop was Tissa Maharama. So Tissa Maharama has this monastery called Nimala, which is a very important monastery. Once again, it's practically in the Yala uh, forest reserve, and one of these oldest monasteries. Now, when this Aranyaka tradition, like a proper Aranyaka tradition, started in 1952, when you heard this group called Galdu or Kalyana Yogashram Sanstha, now in. So that there's this one of these Aranyas offered to them, offered to that group to start the, more like a more organized Aranya tradition. Before that, they were like monks living in an Aranya situation, forest situation, but they were not that organized. So because of that, and of course, it has this history. Even commentaries, like when Bhante Buddha Ghosa's commentaries also has these stories referring to these monasteries. So you see there's this historical sort of a side to it, and this day you can see that sort of that situation. You can imagine if you read this history, you'll be able to sort of relate to. You'll be able to imagine actually how these things operated back in the days. You still see the remnants of it. So Nimalawa Situlpauwa is another nice place. Lots of caves. I don't know whether people there even like discovered all the caves. There are so many caves actually, even inaccessible, in the forest, infested with elephants and I mean, there are a lot of elephants and bears also. It's a bear country. Um, and then we went to this place called Buttala area called Budugallena Aranya. Also another cave monastery, a lot of caves. Um, so, so some of these old monasteries now they are still operating to this day. The Aranya tradition got revived. Certain monasteries basically received by these Aranya monks. Actually, they started to, uh, they revive those practices. So if you go to certain places, you see there's like this nice routine happening. It's nice to see actually. See like a big sangha living in harmony in such a situation. So you can day to day you can relate to this. You can tap into this ancientness of that place as well, compared to a place like an Aranya, but there's nothing much of a history sometimes. But it doesn't have to be like that. But it's a kind of extra thing. It inspires you. It's sort of it gives you material to think. So Budugalen and then to Kudumbigalan. Kudumbigal also a very important place. And then from Kudumbigal there is this more sort of into the jungle, into the forest. There is this place called Bamargas Talab, which is a lot of bears, according to the monks living there, elephants as well. But somehow we were lucky. Maybe we were very lucky to not encounter any bears on our way to Bamargas Talab and all these other places. So, and then basically concluded our charika of this place at this place called Rajagalatana in Ampara. So that place basically operated by archaeology people. So there's no proper monastery there, but you see like very like remnants of like a complete monastery, uh, like a dhanasala, the eating places, lavatories, Sema, and all these other buildings you see in a proper monastery. You can see there, in one place. So you kind of so that sort of thing arouses that sort of feeling that so yeah, to see to feel this been happening for thousands of years. People were living here as monks. So all in all, most of us haven't been to these places. So we were inspired, and it was like 14 days, nearly, yeah, like a 2 weeks thing. So sightseeing is, yeah, it's a nice thing, but um, there are these other things also we had to sort of consider, or we had to be careful. Now, when monks do a charika, it's not like we are taking like a vacation. That you're sort of okay, you're not following the schedule back in the monastery, but that doesn't mean that sort of it's told like a vacation. Sort of we sort of forget about what we've been doing and things like that. And now we are not in this kuti situation like after the meal, like after Pindapat, we sort of eat together, we sort of clean up the Dharma Sala together, and then we disperse to our kutis. So then after that, we have our little quiet time and sort of our space to do, our practice and to do what's necessary. But going on Charika, now we sort of huddled together in one place. This is about 9 months with a couple of lay people also. Um, Now we shift. We supposed to we supposed to shift our gears to like a little different mode, but the practice still happening. Now, the first thing about Charika is that it demands more sati. Now, back in the days, Thai forest tradition teachers, um, they they have told us, if you read their teachings, if you read the books, you see they sort of recommend to do charika time and time again, because you are in one situation, you're comfortable, because after a while you make it comfortable, not like kind of like a luxurious kind of comfortable, but you're sort of you're at ease. You know where things are. You know the system. You have a system in place, so there's no need to sort of talk too much about like what to do and all these things, because we have a system. We sort of follow it quietly. No one has to sort of tell someone else, every time what to do, because we know actually this is our dhan. Let's say we are cleaning dhanasala after the meal, we know what to do. So no one's sort of supervising or something. It's a kind of collective thing. But you're coming out of that bubble, and then you have to deal with these things. Now you have to rethink. You have to um, reconsider, sort of revise certain things in a different way. Because the circumstances are different now, so we have to sort of change according to that circumstance. So teachers, that's why teachers sort of recommended back in the days to do some charika. And Lord Buddha also says this thing. Lord Buddha says, this one of these suttas, he says there are these drawbacks of living in one place indefinitely. So you get attached to the place, and things get accumulated because you're living there, so it's sort of stuff sort of accumulated, gets accumulated, and then things like that. Basically, he recommends to do charga as well. That was a lifestyle back then. Um, so, and on the other hand, just to sort of balance that idea, going charga indefinitely, like kind of non-stop charga, also can be detrimental sometimes. Lord Buddha says. Uh, I think that's like the next sutta to that sutta I just mentioned. Because time, actually, we need to have some sort of a settled environment as well. For formal meditation, for samadhi, that's also useful to have like a system in place. So, so if you sort of indefinitely, you're sort of continuously stirring that sort of a situation, that's also not good. So it's always good old middle way, isn't it? So you need sati. Um, Now, sati is something uh, we have to sort of something we have to establish, something we have to look after, something we should contemplate. Uh, these things seems like automatic because there's no like a one point in our life that we decided, okay, from this moment on, I will be mindful. Uh, uh, from the beginning, we are mindful in certain way, one way or the other. But when it comes to the practice, it's a matter of whether it is right mindfulness or the wrong mindfulness. So today, I wanted to talk about more like the samma sati rather than just sati. So, being mindful. So, as I see it, so let's say we are on Charika, we are coming to a monastery. Now, we are as a group, we have some senior monks to us. Even I wasn't the senior monk in that group. There were like 3 monks senior to me, my elder brothers, so to speak. So, uh, back in my monastery, I am the senior monk. So it's very easy for me to sort of, I don't want to sort of think too much about certain things because I'm the senior monk, sort of. So once I sort of stand one place, the rest of the people will line up behind me. Let's say like something like that. I'm talking figuratively here. But now I'm traveling with these senior monks. Then what happens? I had to be extra careful not to sort of tread on to their feet because they are senior to me. So um, you have to sort of deal with this new situation. So that sometimes you feel like this change, this new thing. Sometimes that is something we don't like, right? Going to a new school, for an instance, like let's say, as a kid, some of us maybe experienced that. Like you sort of had your first, like let's say your first school you attended, and then you had to sort of move to another one. Then things all over again. Like you had to sort of make friends and like avoid yourself avoid bullies and a lot of other things. So it's unsettling. So in one way, it's unsettling. We don't like that change, but on the other hand, like that's the point. Just a sort of a time to time to in one way it's like a test. On the other hand, so it's a push. It's a uh, it's a nudge. It to sort of stand, rise up to the occasion. Like you sort of get your act together and sort of deal with it. Because otherwise, we would rather sort of sit back and relax all the time, right? Now, sitting back and relax is a very important skill, but that's not the entire practice. Sometimes you have to sort of push yourself to a little more sort of towards more kusala territory. So it needs pushing. It needs a little bit of a nudging. It needs that pull from kalyana mittas. Sort of. That's why we live with the kalyana mittas. We pull each other. So we sort of uh, uh, tread our path. Like travel this eightfold path bit by bit. We advance in that path. So um, this this is normal, and this is something expected. This changing changing this situation. There is a little bit of affliction. The mind doesn't like it sometimes, but that's the time you train yourself. So you can convince your mind actually, this is okay. This is par for the course, so to speak. Um, so change is a good thing. It teaches us certain things. So and it prepares us. I remember one of our teachers. Uh, Actually, this was like uh, not a monk teacher, but back in the days when we were like studying. This one teacher used to tell us that, okay, test is coming, midterm test or something. So you make sure that you cover these materials uh, for the test. And he would say, you know what, why we are holding a test? Because you don't study. If we hold a test, if you do a test, then only you study. Isn't that true sometimes? Like, okay, I mean, it's not that totally we don't study, but if some challenge, if we have a challenge ahead, if we have a like hurdle to jump, then we sort of we get our act together and sort of face to that. So a challenge is always good. The change is always good. If you have that attitude, if you can change your attitude, change your perception. So 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 these things actually opportunity to develop your sati. Otherwise, we mostly go with our autopilot mode. You know what I mean? Like, the daily routine and on and on and on, like the same rut again and again and again. So changing the situation is a very good thing. So I'm in front of this new situation. As I see it, there are these three things uh, required, or three things define who this sati sampajanya, or this mindfulness and clear comprehension thing. So that whole business you can break down to these three things according to my understanding. The first thing would be that you have this ability to look at something, like this pure knowing aspect of your mind. If we can listen to what's happening right now, we can hear sounds. We can hear that, this, Venerable Damita is speaking here. So you are like paying attention to my talk. So it basically, you you are exercising that sort of that knowing, that you're being aware of what to your surroundings. So that's one. That's the first thing. And the second thing would be with this new situation, that which object, which area of things should I be mindful of? Now I'm entering to now I'm in a monastery, a new monastery. I'm entering to the dhanasala of this community. So there are things back in my mind. Actually, I had to pay attention quickly. You prioritize these things. I'm not looking at where the food is or anything. I'm looking at basically where the senior monk is. That's the first thing. Like, if I explain the monk dynamics a little. So where's my senior monk? So it's sort of a quickly sort of a, after a while sort of you get used to this thing. So you quickly figure out where's the senior monk, and then you find your place down the line. Oh, okay, this is my place. And set up your seat, keep your stuff. And there are these little unfamiliar objects on the table sometimes, like which back in our monastery we don't use sometimes, like maybe a spittoon or something, maybe a cup on top of another cup, things like that. So without sort of toppling, without banging this thing, I suppose sort of careful, you know, without making an entrance. You see what I mean? Like making a big kind of loud bang and oh, here I am. Like, very carefully sort of find your place and then sort of navigate yourself. Okay, that's okay. I see the dana. Now it's happening. Senior monks are sort of starting, sort of serve themselves the food. So okay, I'm carefully sort of waiting for my time and things like that. So number two would be that this this knowledge of what should I be aware of right now. There should be that this is something independent from that first aspect or the first ability, like paying attention as like a purely like a paying attention thing, because you can be in that dhanasala and sort of pay attention to your breath. You can drive your vehicles and pay attention to breath or something. Okay, how about like driving? Would that be like a good thing that you pay attention while to your breath while driving? I don't recommend. So while you are driving, actually, you're supposed to pay attention to the traffic. Simple as that. While you are in a new monastery, in new dharmasala, you pay attention to that, things like that. So if I just say I am being sati, I am being mindful, oh, I didn't see it because I have been mindful, uh, that wouldn't cut. You have to be mindful of the right object at the right time, because sometimes it depends on the time, it depends on the context. So we had to be careful about it. So that's the second aspect of it. And the third aspect, as I see it, is that you pay attention to something. Okay, this is happening, and you bring up more sort of your, these instructions you were told, like Ajahn Brahm would like to say, remembering the instructions. Remember, he says that. Um, Now, it would be, if I translate it into my context, it would be like remembering the Vinaya, remembering all these minor sort of etiquette, things we have. uh, Remembering the personal experience uh, I have, so far as a monk, things like that, and ultimately, it'll come to the point like uh, your views and opinions, your sort of your worldview also actually, put into the same category there. How do you go about and relate to things? Am I being sort of dismissive and not caring that much of a seniority, and I have this attitude and sort of being negligence? I am aware of where the Dhanasala is. I know where the senior monk is, but who cares? If I have that, see, I'm still have my mindfulness. I can claim it, but I don't care because I have an attitude. Would that be proper? No. So you still have this sort of okay, okay, let's do this. Be careful, and yeah, be an example to your junior monks as well. Things like that. Many things. So remembering the instruction is also a very important thing. Now, Thai forest tradition teaches, particularly Ajahn Chah, we've heard that he'd say, uh, he would use this term sati panya. They wouldn't say just sati most of the time uh, in their Dhamma talks. You hear, you hear they mention panya along with sati, and in Thai they say sometimes like they go on and say this phrase even little kind of the next thing. They say mi sati mi panya. They say if you have sati, then you have panya as well. So they say like so the point being that this thing has to go together, and of course the sati helps for the the sustenance of the panya as well. It sort of serves each other back and forth. So sati panya is a very important term. When Thai say sati, they don't say just sati, they say panya, which is a very important thing. Uh, Let me repeat this good old story of Ajahn Brahm. I mean, his basically his story, like his analogy of this security guard. So if I mention it briefly, uh, you have this the family, well-to-do family, have a security guard in front of their gate, by the gate, and then they leave for something, and they say, okay, they say to the security guard that be careful, burglars might come. We heard about like a recent sort of breaking in, so do be careful, be very observant. They go away and they come back. What happened? The thieves broke in. They can see that the main door is open and things like that. So go in and find out that things are missing. They come back and I ask the security guard, have you seen? Did you see them actually? What happened? And the security guard say, sir, I saw the thieves are coming, and then I noticed that thinking, thieves are coming, thieves are coming, thieves are coming. And then I saw the television set is taken away, and I thought, I noticed the television set being taken away. The television set is being taken away. The television set being taken away. So things like that. So then the owner asked, "Haven't you talked to the police? So, haven't didn't you do anything?" So uh, I think uh, I, uh, the answer was like, you know. You just wanted me to sort of be aware of it, you know. That was your instruction. So what's the point of the story? You know, just being aware is not the complete story, right? He he won't be doing any job if he's just doing being aware as a security guard. So you had to do much more than that. The same thing with your mind as well. So you can be aware of your, the emotions like your anger and other sort of things doesn't help you, but you need to remember the instructions. You need to have that panya to at least sort of notice and figure out actually, this is not good. You know, something is going on. And like the mind is sort of drifting towards something. I have to do something about it. Or otherwise, you watch actually, like the security guard. These kilesas, these tendencies, these emotions come into your house, come into your heart, and make the mess they usually do when they go away. And then sort of you start, you end up with this aftermath of, of that event. So sati and panya is very important. Just sati wouldn't do. It's not good enough. So if I break down those three things I just mentioned, that you have this awareness or knowing aspect, you have this the ability to sort of pick an object according to your situation in front of you, and then bring in more details, more instructions, how to sort of you go about and sort of deal with or hold this situation. So the latter two actually basically that's panya, right? But I broke down those two into two rather than keeping it as just one, because just to kind of give a little more kind of a clarification actually how the mindfulness works in a more kind of daily basis. So, so those two, the panya, the first aspect, the knowing aspect, is that's mindfulness, or the sati. Then, if I say something uh, about the definition, the classical definitions of these terms, sometimes you see the term sati appears individually in the sutras, just sati. And in certain situations, you see sati and sampajanya, sati sampajanya. Um, so, in my mind, when I see sati sampajanya, I see it as a more sort of uh, uh, it explains more. Lord Buddha explains more, at least the cover the whole area more kind of comprehensive way when he says that. But in other cases, actually, he just refers to this faculty of sati. So in both cases, actually, if it's supposed to be the right sati, the right mindfulness, there should be the sampajanya as well. It is understood, even though just the term sati is there, the sampajanya also understood in that context. And there's this other context, the sampajanya used, that particularly uh, with the body awareness, like you are being sampajanya on your body movements. You know what you do actually, how you sort of walk about, up and down and all these things. Now, satipatthana also also something I should mention here. Now, satipatthana uh, meditation. Now, in the Satipatthana Sutta, uh, So there are these four aspects you sort of pay attention to, sort of you try to develop mindfulness. And sati indriya, or this faculty of sati, um, basically Lord Buddha says that is satipatthana basically, because the satipatthana, if you develop the satipatthana, that culminates the uh, the whole idea of whole business of sati sampajanya. Because in order to develop it formally, uh, like you do formal meditation like today, and even day-to-day situations also eventually. But the Satipatthana Sutta gives these themes and gives these, it breaks down these aspects we can, develop sati. And so Satipatthana is related in that sense to the whole this sati thing, because eventually we're supposed to go towards Satipatthana, when we say we are being mindful of, we are practicing mindfulness. So now Lord Buddha defines the term sati in his suttas. You see this definition. Something goes like, you remembers what you heard, uh, what you sort of experienced. You keep that memory. Basically, you remember. You, the Pali term sarati, anusarati is used. Sarati means like you remember, you can recall. Now, before all these things, when as a junior monk, as a beginner to this whole practice, when I read that sutta, I always wonder actually what does this mean? Because when we hear the term sati, I mean, it kind of gives this idea of like, oh yeah, I'm being sort of aware of something, like like I had to really pay attention to something. uh, so that's I'm being mindful. And yet Lord Buddha says something like remembering, something like you try to sort of recall something. And when Ajahn Brahm explained this thing, because okay, in his teachings, he breaks down this idea, this mindfulness thing, like okay, the paying attention to something, like this knowing aspect of the mindfulness, and this remembering the instruction side of the mindfulness, which is panya, of course. Uh, when I heard that, when I kind of start to pay attention to that teaching, then I realized actually, okay, this is what the sutta says. Because Lord Buddha says actually, uh, remember something. That definition itself is not clear to like it's not kind of explained more thoroughly actually. Remembering what, but the sutta says actually more kind of concise way, as like a definition actually what the sati means. So uh, and the other thing would be like the sampajanya. The term sampajanya, now it is translated as clear awareness. The knowing, being mindful, and clear awareness. Now, clear awareness, the term clear awareness, I'm sorry, it's clear comprehension, right? Yeah, the clear comprehension, I'm sorry. So, the clear comprehension sometimes can be little ambiguous. It's okay. It has this similar flavor of what just said, like being mindful and clearly comprehend something. So I think the clear comprehension, the term, maybe once you know the definition, once you know what's going on, it'll be more clear. Otherwise, for a beginner, just comprehending something, I think wouldn't sort of give the idea of panya or the remembering the instruction aspect of it. So once you know this thing, once you know that actually, yeah, I had to bring these instructions. I had to bring my experience. I had to bring the teachings. I had to bring the vinaya if I'm a monk. All these things. So that's clear comprehension. Uh, Now the sampajanya, the term suggests that there's this panya, something panya built into it. Because the janya, sampajanya, janya, or anya, which we can break that Pali term, anya, or the nya is the root, they say, according to the grammarians. Nya means something panya, something prajna, something like a wisdom aspect of it. So this clear comprehension or the sampajanya does have this sort of a panya aspect. That may be the reason actually, instead of saying sampajanya, Thai forest teachers would say just panya. There's more kind of familiar term. Just use sampanya. I think it's more kind of straightforward, less sort of, less cluttered, if I say it like that. So which we should pay attention. Once we sort of, I mean, when we go along the path, we have to sort of rethink these teachings and try to understand. Oh, this must be the sampajanya. Then, this is the sati. It's good you contemplate these things. And just to cover more ground a little, I only have 5 minutes. Maybe I can sort of borrow more 5 minutes, 5 minutes more, 10 minutes, I don't know. Just to, because I wanted to do a little, well-rounded talk this time on sati, because otherwise I have talked about this topic before. So, and so, this, okay, now, I think I lost the thread. Yeah, so now there's this. If you pay attention to what Ajahn Brahm says, he sometimes, occasionally, you hear he says, uh, you have to sort of consider this these three aspects of awareness. Like, let's say when we are paying attention to something, there's these three things. That there's this knowing aspect, the vijnana, or like this being conscious, like knowing. We can call it vijnana in certain context. You can call it sati in certain context. He would like to say, call it as a knower, right? You've seen this term, the knower. There's this knower. There's this knowing thing in front of us. Let's say that this clock. It says the time, and there is this something there's something in between these two. How should we understand this thing? Like, he would say it's not just it's not that just the object you pay attention to. It's how you pay attention to that object, how you paying attention to it. So how do you sort of understand this how aspect? Basically, he'd say it's what in between these two. I'm not saying something metaphysical here. I'm just sort of trying to sort of get this idea across in a more sort of familiar terms. Otherwise, it's not something like totally like unheard of something. So basically, you can be observant of certain thing with a certain sanya, with a certain attitude. Hence the term kindfulness. Remember? So you put kindness to it, he says. Now instead of saying, now breaking down that into three sort of pieces, now the three sort of things. These days he straight away he goes to kindfulness. He kind of evolved his teaching into more sort of a usable and more kind of easy to use sort of instruction now. Now these days he says kindfulness. So it's not just your being observant of something, but how do you watch it? What's the mindset you have? Is it like a little annoyed and yeah, let's say like I wanted to cover more, but the time is now nearly 9, and then should I be getting irritated by it, or things like that, or anything you encounter sometimes, like like if we don't have a good mood, sometimes what happens, whatever we see colors up by that mood. So in one way we can call it as a mood or the sanya. So we can pay attention to these things with, we don't sort of do anything at all to these perceptions, these sanya, these moods we have. Because of that, these things still sort of colored by our sort of a mental attitude there. So that's also to be understood. That is something we have to sort of pay attention as well. Otherwise, we are mindful. And mindfully, okay, let's say I see a dog in the monastery, and we try to sort of keep away from, keep away these stray dogs from the monastery. So basically, I see a dog, and I can mindfully pick up a stone and throw at it, right? And hurt the dog, can't I? I'm being mindful. But um, but that's the thing. Now I'm explaining the same thing in a different way. But you have this view. You have not just an instruction. Okay, my teacher said, be kind to animals. Okay, that's also not bad. But it has to be little like it should be ingrained by now in your view. Yeah, I shouldn't hurt these things. I just wanted to give it um, give a signal that uh, you better go. Just kind of conveying the message, not to sort of hit the dog or anything. So even with the monkeys, sometimes it can be very intimidating. Back in the monasteries, they kind of mess around and sort of break roofs and stuff. So you have to sort of be little affirmative sometimes with these animals. So you convey the message in a more sort of a kind of way, not to sort of hurt them in the process. So it depends on the mood, what's in between. Otherwise, we'll be doing the same thing. It's still we have the feeling that we are mindful, but it is not the right mindfulness. It's not the samma sati yet. Still it's lacking something. So in order to get the sammanas to this thing, this sati, we need to bring this the correct worldview, the correct views, correct instructions, and things like that. So this paradigm of seeing it as like three things, like there's this knower, there's this object, and there's this something in between. What's in between right now? It's a kind of good question you can ask. Now, what I wanted to cover basically a little more about like establishing mindfulness and how, what are the supportive conditions to mindfulness as well, which I'm going to cover rather quickly. So okay, mindfulness. We talk about mindfulness and all these things. And if I ask someone, maybe I'll give you the opportunity. Please enlighten me. I shouldn't say that, but please tell me, um, how do we go about and establish mindfulness? I think Venerable Viri once knows the answer, but I'm asking from the rest of you. Maybe many months also knows. So yeah, anyone would like to give a try? Okay, so Lord Buddha Lord Buddha explains these things in a few suttas. He gives this, like one time, it is this instruction he gives to the monks. Monks, uh, you you go into village, in the morning, on Pindapata, you enter into the village. You're supposed to be aware of certain things. Be aware of sights and the other sort of sensory inputs, which might sort of give rise to greed, hatred, and delusion, lust, things like that. So he says, uh, the monk, before entering to the village, he would consider, now I might see certain things which might give rise to these defilements. Therefore, I'll be careful. So that is basically how you set up your mindfulness. Hence the term programming mindfulness. Remember what Ajahn Brahm says? You get into a taxi, you tell to the driver clearly, I want to go to the airport. Take me to the airport. Not just sort of like a local velvataramak and just kind of give like a concise possible instruction, less confusing as possible to the mind. So if you give the instruction clearly, the mind tends to understand and follow it through. So get in, you before you go to the village, you tell to your mind, these things can be anticipated. Be careful. And then mindfulness will take over then onwards. Actually, the more mindful, the more practice you have in that regard, the more autonomy it has. You will see actually the mindfulness itself take over you see this gear shifting. I mean, it's not like like a car gear, but it's, let's say, like it takes over and sort of a wall, like a bouncer basically, repels certain things and sort of it kind of carries you. That may be the reason, actually, this sati being an indriya. So one of these key organs, so to speak, of this body, because sati also like a very important sort of like a organization, like an institution, within that body, like a faculty. So hence this phrase sati adipateya sabbe dhamma, Lord Buddha says. Sati being the adipati, Sati being the supervisor, Sati being the overseer. Among all the Dhammas, Sati is the overlord. Sati adipateya sabbe. Things like that. So before you enter to a situation, let's say office, people, there are people you like in the office, there are people maybe you might not that likable to you in the office. So what happens? And maybe you're going to a meeting, and a certain thing is going to discuss, and it can be little sort of a tricky or like little hot topic, and you sort of experience this slippery slope of once you get this topic, you open your mouth, the damage is done. even before you know it. So you have that past experience, you have that memory, you bring it to this moment now, remembering the instruction. And before you enter, you tell to yourself, I will be careful, I will be careful, I will be careful before I speak. Tell three times. That's how you do it practically. So then you go in, you'll see a real difference than before. Because otherwise we would react to our past conditioning. Because of this reconditioning, we are doing a reconditioning, right? It's as if like you try to sort of drive down this dirt road with like big two ruts. You've seen these roads, right? Right? Sometimes like in a dirt road, like a big rut, two ruts because of the tire. And you try to sort of come down the same road, thinking that no, I will be able to sort of avoid those two ruts, and uh, go past that section. But most probably you will get into the same rut again because it's so deep. So in mind also, mentally, we also have those sort of ruts. It's very difficult sometimes, like uh, from the previous births, from this life also, you develop these ruts. We have this thing, we respond to these objects in the same way most of the time because of this habit. A rut means like a habit, right? So with mindfulness, for the first time, you sort of a recondition. Okay, I will be careful of this rut. I'll be super careful. Slowly, I will drive. I'll get through this stretch of road. Things like that. So, programming mindfulness very important. Let's say we are serving ourselves done. Like let's say if everything is offered on the table, you see the monks go and sort of you know serve it themselves into the bowl. So if there are times actually a lot of sort of options, a lot of food on the table. So if you're not being mindful, you might end up taking too much basically, which amount of food you won't be able to eat, or sometimes not healthy, things like that. So uh, some people are skillful regarding in that area, some people are not. So what happens? What we can do is like before we go to the table, we can tell to ourselves, "I'll be careful. I'll be careful not to take oily things or things like that." Anything, the problem you have, you can tell to yourself like anticipate this can be a problem. Therefore, bring up the awareness. It's very important. So that's how you sort of program your mindfulness. And in general, there are these other supportive things actually very useful to develop mindfulness. First of all, living with right people. I mean, Kalyan Mittas, when I say right people, I mean, it is a luxury, I know, especially as lay people. I mean, that's why we give the luxury like this. We come together and practice here together. Otherwise, you could have sort of spend the night, the weekend, back in your houses, and eventually sort of turn on the TV and do something else. But we would like to practice, but somehow we succumb to something and then start watch cricket or something like that. So instead of what happens, sort of a situation like this, thanks to Ajahn Brahm Society, we have a retreat, every now and then a monk also comes and gives a talk, or otherwise of course Ajahn Brahmali or someone from Perth will join. So this situation of Kalyana Mittas sort of coming together, very helpful. You learn something every day, you sort of pick up bits and pieces. The more you hear to these things, the more you rectify your views, because yeah, it can't be rectified, can't be sort of said properly at one go. It needs repetitive work. So Kalyanamita is important, and listening to Dhamma, some good Dhamma. Not that this Buddha born in Sri Lanka kind of a, excuse me for my French, rubbish. So 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 yeah, things like that. So you sort of listening to some practical Dhamma which you can relate, which sort of explains your situation, and then. What happens? Then you start to contemplate. You know, you are not just listening to Dhamma. You start to contemplate. Actually, what does it mean? Actually, you know, what? How can I sort of use it in a day-to-day situation? What am I doing? Actually, you know, we have to contemplate at some point. You know, it's a lazy thing sometimes to contemplate. We are not good at contemplating sometimes. But we have to, and so 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 you think according to the Dhamma, and once that thinking gets straight, the more straight it gets, it becomes like a yoniso manasikara, as a technical term. Like you think according to how the things originate. You think according to the principles of the Dhamma. If you think according to, like alongside with that Dhamma, uh, you won't get lost. Otherwise, the thinking can be a little slippery sometimes, right? Like thinking, and some fearful thing comes, and on and on and on. Now you're thinking about something totally sort of might not happen in the future, or things like that. Or kind of proliferating about like theories of Dhamma, but sometimes not relevant, sometimes not sort of well-rounded, well anchored with the Dhamma, proper Dhamma. So Yonaso Manasikara is more kind of organized, more, and it is, just to mention shortly, like in a short sentence, it is anchored, it is driven by the right view of the Four Noble Truths, importantly. So Yonasa Manasikara is very important. When was Sariputta was asked one time, okay, he was asked like question by question, okay, sense restraint. Venerable sir, what's the cause and condition for sense restraint? Indriya Sangvara. Venerable Sariputta says, for Indriya Sangvara, it is sati, sampajanya, that's the cause and the condition. And the monks ask, okay, first sati, sampajanya, let's say the sati here. For sati, what's the cause and the condition? What's the cause, basically? Venerable Sariputta says, not not walking slowly, not particularly about like a meditation object, no, nothing. He says, yoniso manasikara. Because that's again me thinking that, okay, I had to be kind, not just being aware of something, just being aware, but being like kindfully aware of something. Or it can be some other sanya. It can be metta, it can be karuna, it can be mudita. Like this, you have this sort of you are happy of their sort of a progress. It is the opposite of the jealousy, the mudita. It can be um, gratitude sometimes. Sometimes you can look at your breath, not just sort of a breath, you can a little bit of a kind to the breath, or you can be gratitude towards the breath. Because of you, I live. Things like that. You sort of it's just a perception. It's not like it doesn't mean, eventually, particularly something in and itself. We are not talking about that much, but it's a perception you can take. So um, so again, this what's in between, what is observing and the observer. So Yonso Manasikara is very important. So if you contemplate these things, next time when something comes up, it will come to you because you have thought through this already. And when you are sort of developing this thing, there's no sort of such an incident yet. Ajahn Mahabua, another well-known Thai Forest tradition teacher, he'd say, so he used to be a boxer as a layperson. So he says, as a boxer, you train yourself outside the ring. You train yourself with a punching bag and sort of how to punch, how to kick, and all these things, all these moves and stuff. You consciously, you deliberately, you practice. But once you inside the ring, you don't think, okay, I should punch like this, I should kick like this. It comes automatically. Because of that prior training, it comes to you. The sati basically takes over and do the job for you. The setting up that sati, training that sati prior to that is very important. Practicing yonso manasikara is basically training your sati, what to do inside the ring with another difficulty you have in your life. So yonso manasikara very important. And another story, another aspect I would like to demonstrate with this story, Ajahn Chah, a story. So this layman, an Australian, mentioned this to Ajahn Brahm. I think you remember this story, that he was visiting Ajahn Chah at Wat Pah Pong monastery, and he went to his kuti. He sees Ajahn Chah like surrounded by many lay disciples or something, like something happening. So you can't sort of go to Ajahn Chah and even kind of not easy to sort of get close to him and pay respect. So he decided, okay, I have another hour also to my flight back to Australia. So maybe I'll do some service. So he picks up a broom and starts sweeping. And then maybe a while later, he senses someone's hand on his shoulder. He turns back, Ajahn Chah behind him, and Ajahn Chah was like going out from the monastery for some other thing. But Ajahn Chah said to him with a smile, if you sweep, you give it 100%. That was his instruction, because that's what he was doing, he had been doing. And if I repeat it again, if you do something, give it 100% you got. So he mentioned to Ajahn Brahm later on, the message he sort of understood. That was the point he understood what Ajahn Chah said. Give the 100% you got. Absolutely spot on. Like, if you can give 100% of what you are doing, the sati will be there automatically because you like it. You love what you are doing. So if you can develop that view, that worldview, that sort of that attitude towards your work, towards anything, towards your study or any other thing you are doing in your life, the sati will come. It'll glue to the object because you love doing it. So that's a very important thing. And not surprisingly, Lord Buddha says, you had to sort of develop this quality called sakachakari in Pali. Sakachakari means like you are like you are doing a good job basically. If you give dana, do a good job. He says in one sutta. If you meditate, satipatthana, do a good job. So sakachakari hoti, Lord Buddha says. That's what Ajahn Chah said. So if you can develop that quality, then you will see a lot of things will get fixed. Why? What's the problem actually? You as lay people and we as monks also, but okay, as lay people, you're professionals. You work and you have certain areas. Maybe some of you retired already, but there are for any will understand what I'm saying. So if you give 100% what you do, then the professionalism, that's the key to the professionalism, right? Like, okay, he's a professional at something. What does it mean? It's not just saying that he's doing that thing as an occupation, as a mean of getting some wage, get some salary. No, when someone says that so and so professional at something, that means actually he or she loves doing what they do. They know that stuff. They know their sort of a territory of what they do, and they're proud of it and all these things. So if we can sort of give the best, I mean the best available you have. It won't be like it's not like some sort of a ideal again, like kind of a you sort of have torturing yourself, but according to your best ability, so that you give your best. So those things, as I said, is very helpful. So if I summarize this supporting conditions, like um, living with Kalyan Mittas, listening to Dhamma, contemplating, Yonaso Manasikara, and giving the 100% to what you do. So if you can give 100% for our meditation, you will find you will give your 100% for the rest of the things also you do. I mean, it's not like something idealist kind of thing. Of course, there won't be 100%, or but that's what I mean here. Um, so we discuss about how to set up mindfulness. You give a clear instruction. You program mindfulness. You anticipate what's ahead of you. The sati and the sampajanya. They are these two aspects. Um, there's this observing aspect, and there's this panya, the wisdom aspect as well. So listening to these teachings, listening to reading these teachings and all these things will broaden your repertoire of um, of of the repertoire, the ability ability to deal with these things. If you listen to good Dhamma, if you contemplate these things, eventually you will see, these things sort of build up, in you. And once you sort of understand the dynamic, then you can sort of you'll be independent. You'll know actually what to do. You sort of you get the hang of it. The sati sampajana is something you can yourself develop. So I think I'll stop here. So already sort of nearly like 1.5 hours now. So thank you for listening. I hope this will be useful for your practice. Um, please revisit what we've just discussed, what we just mentioned. Um, pay attention to sati. Give importance to sati. It'll be the best thing you've ever done, best thing you ever invested in your life. If you could develop sati. So I hope this helps, and wishing you good luck with your practice. Thank you for listening. There once